Howdy again everyone. Now a few weeks ago I launched a review of Fuji's XF 35mm f1.2 lens, one of the most popular and well respected on that camera system, but at $400 it's slightly on the pricey side. Well, Fuji are a company that likes to listen to the photographers it caters for, and so they've just launched a version of the lens that has the same optics but housed within a simpler plastic body for half the price, $200 or only £170 in the UK. Potentially that's an absolute bargain, particularly for a lens that's so useful. Its standard focal length means your images will have a nice little emphasis on your subject while remaining just about wide angle enough to get the bigger picture in too. And that maximum aperture of f2 is just about bright enough to get some nicely out of focus backgrounds and shutter speeds that are just about fast enough for shooting indoors, although the lens still does not have image stabilization. Well, like I mentioned, the lens has the same optics as the more expensive XF version, so let's take a look at the marked differences in build quality. The XF version of the lens is renowned for its metal lens body, its lovely aperture ring, and its excellent weather sealing. This XC version sacrifices all of those things, but then again, not everyone will necessarily need them. As you can see, right down to the lens mount, the body is made entirely of plastic and it feels extra lightweight as a result, weighing in at only 130 grams. On holding it in your hand, you can somehow tell that all its weight is coming from the 9 glass elements inside. With this lens, you control its aperture using your camera's main control dial. Its only control point is a focus ring. It feels a little lightweight to turn, but it does go very smoothly though. When focusing manually, the response is a bit jerky, as you can see. Perhaps it's a little smoother on Fuji's newer cameras, I don't know. As on the original lens, the image zooms in quite a huge amount as you focus closer to your subject, which could be disturbing for anyone shooting video. When it comes to autofocus, this XC lens still focuses fairly quickly. It emits a whirring sound that is barely audible to the human ear, but will get picked up by your camera's microphone if you're shooting video. The lens's filter thread is 43mm in diameter. It doesn't come with a hood. Overall, the build quality is plasticky and simple, but very functional, and it works absolutely fine. It's nice to see that the lens's autofocus motor is still of a good quality, and that Fuji didn't cheap out in that area. Now, the rest of this review is going to be slightly shorter than usual, because this lens's optics are the same as its more expensive XF equivalent. So, if you want to look at the optical performance in great detail, then pop on over to my review of the XF lens, which you will find on my channel. I'll also put a link in the description. But here's a brief lowdown for you now though. The lens is razor sharp in the middle of your images at f2, and that image quality continues across the image frame until you get to the very edges of the image, which are softer, but they're not as bad as those on the older XF 35mm f1.4 lens. Image quality in the edges gradually improves as you stop down the lens's aperture until you reach f5.6, where we see excellent sharpness just about everywhere. When it comes to distortion and vignetting, if you're shooting in RAW, then the lens projects quite a lot of barrel distortion, and the corners are fairly dark too, so you'll have to correct for those if you're editing RAW images. A major problem with the lens is that close-up image quality is really poor at the widest apertures, as you can see here. You need to stop down to f4 to get good picture quality close-up. A strength of the lens is its resistance to flaring. Even when bright lights are directly in a frame, contrast remains nice and high. As you can see in these sample pictures, and the others I've taken, a real strength of this lens is the softness of its out of focus backgrounds. Its bokeh really is lovely and smooth, very pleasing in just about all situations. But really, in terms of the lens's optics, my conclusions here are the same as with the XF version of the lens. It produces bitingly sharp images with gorgeous looking bokeh. My only serious beef with it is that poor close-up image quality, which annoys me because I like to get close to my subjects. This lens costs £170, it has impressive image quality, and functionally it works absolutely fine, despite not being quite as nice as the XF version. In my opinion, that makes it an absolute bargain, and this is one lens that will really help to open up the Fuji system to beginner photographers or anyone on a low budget. Fuji have taken a risk by launching this XC version of their excellent 35mm f2 lens. It could cannibalize sales of the more expensive option, but the build quality of the XF lens really is exceptional and marks it out, and I reckon that slightly classier version will always have its own place in people's hearts and on the marketplace. As for this cheaper XC version, well, value for money counts for a lot on this YouTube channel, and so this lens naturally gets the rare honour of being highly recommended.